Hello everybody and welcome to the final race review of the 2022 British Touring Car season, and we managed to crown a new champion. With me is my good friend Ben, as always. Say hello.
Hello.
So what we're going to do is we're obviously going to go through, as usual, we are going to go through qualifying, the 3 races, new champion. The standings for this will be the full standings. We have got a few champions that we need to talk about and just mention as well. But don't forget as well, for anything else, that we do have our playlist will be in the description. The link's usually in the description, as per usual. But yeah, the final 3 races of the year, and it was at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. So to just jump into qualifying real quick, we had one red flag due to Tom Chilton coming to a stop with a few minutes to go in the session. But at the head of the field, it was Tom Ingram who put in a brilliant lap, which was a lap record by over 7/10 of a second, and it put him head and shoulders above the rest. A truly magical lap. Not only that, he also said in a post-interview, especially after the race weekend, is that when he did that lap, it felt like an out-of-body experience. Like he's heard other, other sportsmen and women about this, and he never really believed them. So it's were quite some lap. So his pole lap was a 1:29.529 from Rory Butcher and Ash Sutton, who made a surprise appearance into 3rd place. Both of them being 0.4 of a second back. It's also worth mentioning that Jake Hill won the first award of the weekend, with him getting awarded the Goodyear Wingfoot Award. But to jump into race 1, it saw a great start by Ingram and Sutton, with Hill trying to get between both Napa Fords. He did make contact with the back of Ash Sutton's car, ultimately not doing too much damage to his car, but a bit of damage. Turkington, meanwhile, dropped down the order, but none more so than Dexter Patterson, who went from 7th, which was his best qualifying result of the year, to plumb last after going wide onto the grass and dropping right down the order. Aaron Taylor Smith crashed out after having contact with Ash Hand, which brought out the safety car. Once the safety car went in, it was Ash Sutton who was the cork in the bottle, as he dropped away from Butcher, who was trying to push Ingram all the way. And in return, Ash Sutton managed to hold up an 8-car train, including the likes of Hill, Thompson, Morgan, Camish, Cook, Turkington and Jelly, with George Gamble also being in there as well. Lap 7 saw Dan Lloyd take on Dan Rowbottom for 13th place, which was an exciting battle, as he went side by side through Druid's corner. At this point, though, safety car number 2 came out, as Parfitt and Borley went off, and they both retired from the race. It looked like there was severe contact made, and yeah, put them both out on the spot. When the safety car went in again, it was Bobby Thompson who went around the outside of Jake Hill to drop him down to 5th place. However, later in the lap, Hill got back past him, and got back up into 4th place again. Lap 13 saw chaos as Hill tried to get past Sutton, but then went wide, allowing Thompson to attack him. Hill then tapped Thompson into a half spin, which dropped him down to 7th behind Morgan and Turkington, who in turn were trying to get past Hill themselves. Turkington briefly got past Hill, only for Hill to get back past in a great little scrap between the two, which was good to see. 2 laps later, we saw Hill take on Morgan to get behind Sutton, to which he succeeded, and we saw Ollie Jackson go in slow. There was a lot of smoke coming out the back of his car. We found out it was later due to contact with Dexter Patterson, who in turn had broke Ollie's suspension and put both of them out of the race. Ollie Jackson retiring on the grass, and Dexter Patterson, I believe, coming into the pits and retiring on the spot. Lap 16 saw an aggressive scrap by Hill and Sutton, who was trying like mad to get past Sutton, and eventually got past him, resulting in Sutton going wide at the following corner and having a huge sideways moment on the grass. This then led to Morgan, Turkington and Thompson all trying to get ahead of Sutton in a tight 3-way battle, which resulted in more than a fair few door bashes and wing mirror clatters. Sam Osborne went out on lap 17, however, it wasn't over yet, with Sutton holding off an aggressive Turkington until the very end of the race, with Turkington trying everything right up until the finish line to get past the Ford, but he just couldn't do it. Up at the front, though, it was Tom Ingram who won the first race of the final race meeting of the year, with Rory Butcher and Jake Gill coming home in second and third, respectively. And it's also worth mentioning that during this race, we had Gordon Shedden and Jade Edwards retire, unknown as to why, but yeah, they both retired from the race. So your race 1 results were Tom Ingram was your race winner, one with the fastest lap. Rory Butcher was second ahead of Jake Hill in third, Ash Sutton in fourth, with Colin Turkington in fifth. Then we had Adam Morgan in 6th, Bobby Thompson 7th, George Gamble 8th, Dan Camish in 9th, and Stephen Jellett rounding out the top 10. Over to you for race 2, Ben.
Yeah, so for race 2, Ingram had a really good start, with Hill getting straight behind him, knowing what job had to be done. And then all of a sudden you see Butcher just goes straight clean alongside Hill, and then Sutton instantly just joins in the fun as well by getting behind Hill. So you have a nice little group going into the first corner, thinking, just going all along with each other. And then it looks like Hill is just ready to go for it instantly as well on Ingram. And then all of a sudden you see Butcher manages to move straight on past, goes straight next to Ingram on the outside, on the run down to Druids. But then Ingram defends on the inside going into Druids and holds first position. And then we catch up with everything. Going on to lap 5, when you start to see that Sutton, something still isn't quite right with his car. He starts to drop back. Seems quite similar to how his car was in race 1. It looks like Turkington sort of is behind him now. He's basically looking like he wants to have a go and overtaking, because he knows if he has any chance at all, then he needs to get past him. At this point, you then see on screen that Gamble had got a penalty for a false start. And towards the end of the lap, Hill gets straight on behind Butcher and sets it up for going across the start line to try and go for second. On lap 7, Turkington gets better traction on the corner, leading to the GP circuit, and then hits Sutton's left rear bodywork, causing the arch to flap about again as we've seen in previous races. Sutton is definitely starting to struggle now, and it seems that all he can do at this point is just defend. With this, Turkington knows about this, goes on the outside, going onto the start line, and both tap into each other going straight on round the corner. He holds the outside line going on to lap 8. Sutton somehow manages to keep the position, which I thought was insane, but now all of a sudden you see that Morgan is now deciding that he'll have a go on Turkington then. So it seems that there's now a bit of a battle going on between them two. Butcher gets sideways at this point, going into Paddock Hill Bend. At this point, so basically Hill just decides, you know what, I'm going to have him. Goes up on the inside of a nice clean position before he can try and defend that position again, going into Druids. Hill keeps on the inside, going to Druids. Butcher, all he can do is keep on the outside. And then after that, basically, they're not too far behind Ingram. Then all of a sudden, you see that Hill managed to tech him, but you all of a sudden see Turkington dart out instantly, goes straight past Sutton. He manages to hold it, keeps the position, and finally gets past him, taking 4th. And then he immediately puts everything down and starts to try and reel back in to gain the gap back on everybody else ahead of him. On lap 9, Hill is now gaining on Ingram, and he seems to be just gaining like every other 10th he can, and getting right at the end of lap 9, he's right behind him. At the same time, Sutton seems to just be dropping further back, and it's just his race is getting worse. On lap 10, you notice that Hill at this point is now 0.4 seconds behind Ingram at the start line, and Turkington is starting to catch up to Butcher as well, as Morgan and Gamble are all of a sudden just thinking which of them decides they want to try and take Sutton, and are both ready to pass him. On lap 11, Turkington is right behind Butcher, tapping him twice, coming out of Druids. It looks like he's just basically letting you know, I'm going to pass you. And by the end of it, it looks like he's getting ready. Hill is behind Ingram, nearly touching him. He's like literally, if Ingram even did something wrong, Hill's going to touch his car and tap him. And he has less hybrid left than Ingram. I think he had 1 lap less hybrid than Ingram did, and Ingram had just enough to finish the race. Turkington manages to finally gain third on lap 13. He just cleanly goes straight past Butcher and gains third. On lap 14, Hill starts sliding around, and it seems that he's just pushing so much. We can see him just on occasion slightly drifting his car into some corners. He's just losing traction here and there, and because of this, you notice that his tyres are more or less gone. And last lap, only Ingram has hybrid, as Hill and Turkington both have none left. They've used all theirs up. Ingram gains a really good lap on the last lap using his hybrid, as Hill is caught by Turkington, and Ingram wins the race with a reasonable lap because he had his hybrid left while the other two were sort of darting with each other. So, your winner is Tom Ingram, with also the fastest lap. Second is Hill, third is Turkington, fourth is Butcher, fifth is Sutton, sixth is Morgan, seventh is Cook, eighth is Camish, ninth is Thompson, and 10th is Lloyd. Over to you for race 3, Brad.
Thanks, Ben. And what a final race we got. It came down to the final race of the final race meeting of the year. And it was Tom Ingram who was leading the standings, with Hill second, 11 points back, and Sutton another 3 points back, so 14 behind Ingram. It was still all to play for. But getting into race 3, saw a great start by Dan Lloyd to hold off Josh Cook, with mayhem happening behind. Sutton had a terrible start and dropped behind Turkington. Meanwhile, Ingram and Hill went head-to-head, with Ingram coming out on top as Turkington tried to block in Ingram to allow Hill past. A bit further up the field, Camish was doing the same to help Sutton move further up the field, which he did. Ingram managed to get past Turkington, with Morgan, Butcher and Cook all fighting for third at the start of lap 2. This lap also saw a huge near miss for Dan Rowbottom, who got tagged and did a full 360-degree spin in front of the field with everyone avoiding him. This also saw him retire with suspension damage, and we also saw Rip Parfitt go off into the gravel after having presumed contact with Jack Butel. The reason why I think it's Jack Butel is because on the TV coverage, when Butel's car came past, he didn't seem very happy with him. This in turn brought out the safety car. Once the safety car was called, though, the drama didn't stop there. Bobby Thompson's car decided that it was going to expire, which was quite unfortunate as he was in second place. It looked like a potential turbo failure from all the smoke that came out, according to what Tim Harvey was saying. But once the safety car did its rounds and came back in, it was back to team tactics, with Camish holding up Ingram as Sutton was moving forward and Hill caught up to Ingram. Butcher took Sutton on lap 9 for a podium place, which is what Sutton didn't want, because up at the front, Cook was closing down Lloyd, and on lap 10 he tried to take the lead, with Lloyd putting on some great defending, stop Cook getting past. He did try a lot of things, but he didn't. Hill saw a gap open on lap 11, which he managed to pass Ingram. However, what happened next wasn't what Ingram wanted to see, as Morgan attacked Sutton and Camish. Morgan attacked Sutton. Camish spun Morgan round, with Ingram having to take avoiding action as Camish came back onto the circuit. So it was a bit of a mess, but Ingram managed to get past both Camish and Ingram. Camish and Morgan after that little clash. Lap 13 was the money shot, though, as I call it, as all three remaining title contenders all actually came together in the one shot, which was really cool. They looked like they were going side by side. It looked really, really cool. And they entered onto the back straight of the circuit, which was really good to finish out the season. Turkington and Jelly went head-to-head for position, with Turkington coming out on top for 10th place. The last lap, though, saw a fight for supremacy as Hill tried to go around the outside of Sutton, with Ingram coming up the inside to take the place. Hill ran wide, which dropped in several places. Hill did manage to get past Camish to move back up to 7th place. But at the front, though, it was Dan Lloyd who took the final race win of the year, with Josh Cook and Rory Butcher, who was rounding out the podium. However, all eyes were on the man in 5th, and it was Tom Ingram who became the 2022 British Touring Car Champion. Just quickly mention as well, whilst all this was going on, we saw Michael Creasy's car upside down at the final corner. Thankfully, got out okay and was seen walking away. This was seen in the video released by Creasy himself. He was spun off by Jade Edwards, who gave him a slight tap. And then once he started spinning, he couldn't stop the car because it was travelling too fast. It hit the barriers and flipped over onto its roof. Thankfully, Creasy's okay. He got out. He even said on social media he's fine. But the car was a mess. But that's not taken away from the fact that Tom Ingram is the champion, the new champion, after many, many years of trying. So your race 3 results are: Dan Lloyd was your race winner ahead of Josh Cook, who snagged the fastest lap for the final time of the year in 2nd place. Rory Butcher 3rd ahead of Ash Sutton. Tom Ingram, your new champion. George Gamble in 6th. Jake Hill in 7th. Dan Camish 8th. Stephen Jelly in 9th. And Aidan Moffat in 10th. Now we get to the standings. So these are your final championship driver standings for the year. So Tom Ingram was the champion with 394 points ahead of Ash Sutton and Jake Hill, who were 12 and 13 points back respectively. Colin Turkington, who was pretty much an outsider and didn't really have a chance this weekend, back in 4th with 348. Then we had Rory Butcher ahead of Josh Cook, Gordon Shedden, Dan Camish, Adam Morgan and Dan Lloyd rounding out the top 10. On to 11th to 20th, we had Stephen Jelly ahead of Dan Rowbottom, George Gamble, Bobby Thompson, Tom Chilton, Ricky Collard, who said farewell to the BTCC, ahead of Jason Plato, another one who also said farewell, ahead of Aidan Moffat, Ash Hand, and Michael Crease, aka Creasy, to round out the top 20. 21st to 30th saw Aaron Taylor-Smith beat Ollie Jackson to 21st place, with Dexter Patterson, James Gornall, who scored 2 points ahead of Sam Osborne, Jack Butel and Jade Edwards to round out the point scorers, with Tom Oliphant, Will Powell, Nick Hamilton, Cal Borley and Rick Parfitt all non-scorers for the season. In terms of the final team standings, we had Napa Racing winning the team's championship on their debut season, with 561 points out of Team BMW, who were on 514, and Accelerate Motorsport in 3rd on 466. 4th place saw Halfords Racing with Cataclean ahead of Rocket MB Motorsport, that's Jake Hill's team if you didn't already know. Rich Energy BTC Racing ahead of Cargo to Sicily Motorsport. Then we had the Toyota squad of Toyota Gazoo Racing. Autobrite Direct with Journey Hero ahead of Laser Tools Racing, who dropped from championship winners to 10th. Car Store Power Max Racing was 11th ahead of Yazoo with Safu Racing. Apex Racing with Beavis Morgan. And finally in 14th, Upton Steel with Euro Car Parts Racing. To go over the other champions of the season, we had the manufacturers champion, BMW, 779 points. They're 7th in a row. Independence was won by Josh Cook, who was the drivers champion with 482 points. Ahead of I believe it was George Gamble, who finished 2nd in that championship, or Adam Morgan. Another great performance by Josh Cook to take the Independent Drivers' Championship. His team, Rich Energy BTC Racing, taking the Independent Teams Championship with 501 points. The Jack Sears Trophy went to Bobby Thompson, who scored 480 points ahead of George Gamble. And finally, as we mentioned before, the Goodyear Wingfoot Award was won by Jake Hill, who scored 145 points to win it after qualifying was finished. So, real quick, before we move on to winners and thoughts for the weekend, just going to quickly go over mine and Ben's predictions. So, at the start of the year, I reckon that Turkington was going to be the champion, with Napa Racing being the team's champion. And Ben's prediction was that Ingram was going to be the driver's champion, with WSR being the team's champion. So, 1-1 each then, Ben, I'd say.
Yeah, we're pretty even, sadly. All to play for next year.
All to play for, exactly. But to move on to winners from the weekend, I think it's obvious, isn't it? Tom Ingram is going to be like the big one here. But just final thoughts, Ben, from the weekend. Anyone else other than Tom Ingram, of course?
See, I'd say like for the weekend, obviously like Hill did what he could do. I think Sutton did what he could do with that car. I think sadly it wasn't quite there for that car and the team. Lloyd just with that win, it was nice to see after the season he's gone through, like good on him. And good on him for getting to a point where if he needed to, I'm pretty sure he could have been called back to help Ingram somehow. Like, he was at least in a good position to be there if needed as well, which was quite ideal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd definitely say them as like my main ones to go to for the weekend.
I was gonna say, so I think for me, there's only one. There's only gonna be one. As much as I want to say like Sutton and Lloyd Hill for putting up a great fight all year, I think there's no doubt who the winner really is. The winner for me, unsurprisingly,
Ingram's
Tom
engineer.
Tom Ingram and his team. I just think that the guy's been on point all year. He's done well. He's kept out of trouble. He's held back. But like he said in a post-race interview, you know, it was a weekend. Not just a weekend. It was every race he was still attacking. Like, he didn't want to just sit back and bag the points. Like, if there was a race to win, he wanted to win it. Similar to what Sutton does. But anyway, yeah. So pretty good racing this weekend, and a very entertaining finale to what has been a great season of the British Touring Car Championship. Which brings us nicely onto what your guys' thoughts of this weekend's racing were. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What do you make of Tom Ingram being the new champion? Let us know in the comments. It's also worth mentioning as well a few final things before we do head off, before the end of this video, is that as mentioned on the last one, the previous race reviews that we have done will all be re-uploaded in the next coming weeks. We've also got an announcement to make regarding the British Touring Car Championship content that we make, so stick around for that. And obviously, last but not least, a big thank you to everyone who's watched these videos, everyone that has commented, whether it's been predictions or anything like that. Your continued support means a hell of a lot to us both, and continues to allow us to make these videos. Not just that as well, is that as bizarre as it sounds, I actually want to give a big thank you to the British Touring Car Championship, because without the drivers, the teams, the mechanics, everybody, that they put on such a great show year in, year out, as they always do. And this year has been a cracker of a year, and we hope for more of the same next year when we return in April. I think it's the end of April, with Donington Park opening up the round. And obviously you'll hear from both myself and from Ben at that point. But until then...
And we should both be there as well.
Fingers crossed, weather permitting and money permitting, we should both be there. But yeah, on that note, thank you very much for watching. Like I said, stay tuned next couple of coming weeks. Yeah, we will see you when the British Touring Car Championship returns in April 2023. So thank you very much for watching, and ta-ra.
Bye.